Alright, let's dive into this lunar eclipse coming up. Big old Algol, the Pleiades, not the Love and Light Pleiades, they never were Love and Light, sorry to say that. The Pleiades are dark. Demons. The Pleiades are demons, and we'll talk about this. And I have absolutely no idea why so many New Age, well, I have many suspicions as to why, but why so many New Age people talk about the Pleiades as being great and the Pleiadians as being not entirely sure if they all do, but there's a lot of talk about Pleiadians and how they guide us and help us. And no, sorry, not the case. Not by the doctrine of the ancients, and not by what we observe in reality. The Pleiades are dark, and we'll talk about it. Sorry, I keep saying we'll talk about it. We will talk about it. This is the monsters eclipse, is what I've called it. I believe Lada has called it the witches eclipse, which is, which doesn't exactly describe how dark it is, because Algol is the Medusa, Gorgona Medusa, and the Pleiades are the 7 demons of Nergal, the 7 chief demons of Nergal. So this is not a great omen, because a lunar eclipse is the destruction of something. It's a death of something. It's the there's something. It's like, it's what it is. Okay, full moon up here, kaput, and then it comes back, but it gets killed. The light of the moon is snuffed out. Now, on anything that decreases the light of the sky is a bad omen. It is a dark omen. It is of the energy of darkness, which is ignorance, which is the energy of this world. So, and of this world, I mean the fallen state, the fallen world, which creates suffering, which creates hardship, and I mean genuine suffering, because there is suffering which helps you grow. But that is only done by somebody who is to a certain degree enlightened. You can only suffer in a constructive way if you've been to a certain degree enlightened. Until that point, it's the suffering of this world, which is not meaningless, but it is not. What's the word? It's not being used by you for your growth. Heaven is using it to push you to grow, but you are not using it for your growth yet. When in reality, all the circumstances that we face in our lives, every single one, I don't care how dark and horrible and traumatic, I've had my own, I don't care how dark they go, they are there for our own growth. Every single one. They are there to help us grow, and that's a piece of advice to get when you're going through it, I know, but it's the truth. And actually, when you learn to think in that way, when you learn to not even see the blessings in it, because that's another level, but just to think in the way that whatever happens is a divine blessing. There is a divine blessing that is teaching me something. Once you start thinking like that, that is where the change starts to shift, because you start to see, well, how is it helping me? Because suffering is always helping us, and so is the joy, so is goodness in life. It's not that we have to always go through hardship, but that we always have to be using what we experience to serve our spiritual nature. Because joy and abundance and all this stuff, these can be just as destructive as war and death and hatred. They can be just as destructive if we're not using them spiritually. So anyway, sorry, little tirade about light and dark there. But so eclipses are of the darkness, solar especially. Lunar eclipses are also dark, but not as bad. Solar eclipses are the main thing. Now, depending on the time of day that these eclipses happen for your area, will dictate when they will come into effect. If it happens in the morning, it'll happen in the next 12 months. If it happens in the midday, it'll happen in the next 2 years. Or probably between 1 year and 2 years. So nothing will happen for a year, and then between 1 year and 2 years, probably at the end of the second year, it'll happen. Whereas with the one that happens in the morning, this will come into effect pretty much straight away, but in the next year it will take effect. If it happens in the evening, 3 years. From 2 to 3 years it will take effect. This is what happened with Trump. He had a solar eclipse on his ascendant 4 years ago, and he was no longer the president 3 years later because the eclipse happened in the evening. 3 years later, boom, kaput, right? Solar eclipse being, and that particular solar eclipse especially affected Trump, especially affected Trump because he was the leader, and that solar eclipse was in the summer solstice, and it was solar as well. Solar is the royalty, the ruler, the king, and this summer solstice is the position of the king as well. It's the head, it's the highest altitude of the zodiac, so in the northern hemisphere, of course. So okay. So eclipses, not good. This lunar eclipse is with Algol, the Medusa, so this is an interesting star. It's a wealth star. Man, that sawing is so loud. I've already recorded this video once. I'm not stopping. It's a wealth star, but it's also the star of the Gorgon, of fear. I actually have this star on my meridian, but it's on the arc of my meridian. It's not on the degree of my meridian, on the arc of the meridian. So this eclipse, it'll be interesting to see whether it affects me. I'll check it in the program and see how close it is to the arc, but it's not very close. But yeah, it'll be an interesting experiment. I don't think it will affect me very much. He says, famous last words. I'm just there getting bombed. The universe is just like, smash, just die. Learn a billion lessons at once. No, that's not happening yet, but it may happen. It may happen because this lunar eclipse is happening in the morning for me, so it'll be pretty much immediate. The effect will be immediate. I had a lunar eclipse on my sun exactly a year ago, and I haven't actually checked it. I need to check, but it must have been in the morning because the effect was immediate. My job, I ended up sort of half losing, half quitting my job 2 months later, and then starting this. So I'm not even going to go into the specific omen there, but if it so it gives you challenges. These are karmic shifts. And this one, okay, what you want to watch out for with this one is people just being erratic. People acting on impulse, acting on their trauma responses, acting out of fear, acting out of anger. Because, this brings me to the next point. Algol, okay, wealth star. Definitely we're going to see crashes in stock markets and just financial stuff generally. I don't know, I'm not a finance guy, but crypto market definitely is going to because people are going to panic sell. Because Algol is of fear, terror, war, but also money. It's ruled by Jupiter and Saturn, so says Hermes Trismegistus, who is the progenitor of all astrology. And if you watched the last video, you know why that's so important, right? So this is, well, of course, actually, that's not true. Hermes is not the progenitor. God is the progenitor. Hermes is the messenger. But he is the closest messenger to the source. Man, that sawing is really starting to piss me off. I'm supposed to be all like love and light, but I'm sorry, no, I'm not. I'm gonna beat the crap out of somebody in a sec. This is the eclipse happening already. I'm already getting pissed off for absolutely no reason. Well, that's not different. I'm always like that. It's one of my main challenges in this life. I have one of my almutens is Mars, and their biggest challenge is conquering their anger and their rage, which is not really. I'm not like that. I don't think. I mean, we'll see. Could be, but it's certainly something I've had to deal with. I'm having to deal with. It's getting really annoying. So, okay, so that's Algol out of the way. Money and fear and all that stuff. Pleiades. Very, very dark stars. So Nergal is Mars in the Mesopotamian tradition. Nergal, Nergal, Nergal. And he has 7 demons, the Sebitu. These are the Pleiades. And Nergal is Satan. We can safely assume that Nergal is Satan because the epithets of Nergal are the same as our good friend Lucifer. Well, actually, Lucifer is not Satan. Lucifer is the sun, the light bringer, literally. But Satan, basically. Because, so what are the epithets of Satan? The enemy, the liar, the deceiver, I think it says the challenger. I can't remember if the Bible calls him the robber. But yeah, all of these nasty epithets, these are the same as Nergal. The enemy, the robber, the, oh my god, I just came in, the liar, the deceiver, the, oh man, there's some bad ones, but you get the idea, right? So Nergal is Satan, and his servants, the servants of Nergal, are the Sebitu, which are the Pleiades. So I have a big question. Why the heck are people talking about Pleiadians being so helpful? They're not. We can see. This is why the tradition is important, because the tradition doesn't fuck around. The tradition isn't like, oh, I feel that the Pleiades are like this. Like, no, look at what happens. Somebody has the Pleiades rising with the moon. These are fucking murderers sometimes. These are not good stars, okay? The energy of these stars is not good. I'm going to have Pleiades with Mars on the friggin' ascendant in a second. Oh, no, it's fine. It's my own fault. I should have told him before I started recording. I hope it's not too distracting. Oh, 11:11. I definitely should have told him before I started recording. Anyway, so basically the point with this whole eclipse season is keep your head on straight. Don't buy into the fear. Don't buy into the anger or the panic. Don't buy into the extremes of emotion. Keep your head cool. Just chill. It's going to pass. It's not a big deal. Because, okay, so, yeah. Just chill, all right? Just take a breather. Take a rest. Don't let all the crap get to you, basically. This is also a spiritual test, spiritual challenge, which, if we pass it, we come to a new level of understanding. This is not a new level of manifestation capability. I have so many bones to pick with the so-called spiritual community here. I'm going to be like the friggin' fire of the Lord eventually. I'm real pissed, actually. Manifestation, this is black magic. Okay? Nobody is going to like hearing that, but it's the case. You're using, okay, I don't have anything wrong with, you inviting in good and wanting to bring light to the world and all this stuff and wanting to do that. However, human beings are so falsely focused on the material essence of life. They think that material is what makes things go. It's not. Anything material is manifested out of the spiritual, out of the etheric. Therefore, anything that you, and any spiritual work that you want to do must first start on the spiritual plane, right? And so that means if you're trying to manifest money to do good, what? Just do good. Manifest good. You don't need money. The master Ivanov, he says in one of his books, do you think that black magicians started off with this intention that they would become evil? No, they didn't. They had a very, very innocent starting point where they just wanted to, experiment with magic, see if it worked. Well, I don't know if it's quite like that, but they essentially they were just serving their own desires without realizing it. They were thinking, okay, well, if I make this talisman at the right time and I do this and I do this, and I'm speaking for myself as well. I've had to stop my studies of talismanic astrology because I don't trust myself. I know that I will use it for my own material gain, which is not the purpose. What happens when you use it for your own material gain is you are using the powers of the spirits of this world, which are not the true powers. And if you do not have true authority, which is the authority of God, these spirits will turn on you eventually. So we have to be using these powers for good, because here's the thing, if we're in poverty, this is a divine blessing. If we're really spiritual, we can see it as a divine, not just can see it, we embrace it as a divine blessing. And we search for the divine blessing in that selflessly. Because for 24 hours in a day, for 12 we will be rich and 12 we will be poor. We cannot change that. This is a law of creation. Right? We are here to experience all things in equal measure. Over, of course, the expanse of all our lifetimes, as our soul desires to incarnate. But of course, we are not our higher nature. We are not our original nature. We have a certain amount of connection to our original nature, but we're not our original nature. So anyway, so what I'm talking about is that we have to, our ego, who we are, we have to do the work to reach our original nature and invite it in. Let it have authority over our dominion, over our home. God, I'm thinking in Latin all of a sudden. Our household. The household which is in our body, which is our desires, our ego, our all that stuff, whatever, anything psychological in you, all of it, our trauma as well, actually. It's for us to give authority to the light. So, why was I ranting about this again? Oh yeah, the Pleiades and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. All this sort of. Yeah, I know nobody's going to enjoy me saying that, but this is the case, because the lineage goes so far back. This is going back to the genuine tradition, to the people who were genuinely spiritual. They were not trying to manifest money. They didn't have egoic goals like that. And I do see a lot of these things as being, to a certain degree, they're going towards the path of black magic. Because these people are ignorant. They don't understand the light. The light doesn't care if it's poor or wealthy, materially. It's always wealthy. The light is wealth itself. So the material circumstances are irrelevant for your spiritual growth. And if you want, this whole thing of wanting money is irrelevant, actually. It doesn't matter. If you're destined to be wealthy, you will be wealthy. If you're not destined to be wealthy, you will not be wealthy. It is. I'll literally see that within 5 seconds of looking at a person's chart on my program. It's not hard. People we have such egos about, I made this money and I built this business and I created this. And we're completely arrogant of the fact that God is the one who did that. God provided all of the circumstances to help us grow into that. And he provides also the abundance that supplies that business. And we have no understanding of this. We think that we did it. And people who do give thanks to God, they also don't. I can see. You can see very clearly. They don't truly understand this. There's a story from Peter Dirnov. He said, there are 2 hermits in a desert. I'm going to finish this whole thing now, this is spiritual upgrades for you, basically, to deal with this eclipse, to be detached from this eclipse, from the energy of this eclipse, because the dark spirits have been given authority now to come into the earth and to influence human beings, and it's up to us to resist. So, there's these 2 hermits living in a desert, 2 brothers. And they lived there for a long, long time, 20 years or something. And they're, of course, very spiritual and, meditating and doing this work. And they, one day, one of these brothers, he sees his other brother running out of these bushes. And he thinks, God, what could have scared my brother so much? There must be something very weird going on over there. I'm going to go check it out. So he goes over to the bushes and he looks in these bushes, and what does he see? A big pot of gold. Big pot of gold. And so he thinks, wow, this is great. Awesome, I'm going to use this. And so he takes the pot of gold, he goes to the nearest town, and he uses the gold, he sets up an orphanage and benefits everybody and looks after people and uses this money to create these sort of charities and caring for the people in the village, which is a very noble cause. And he does this until all the money is gone, and then he returns to the desert, to his hermit lifestyle. So he clearly didn't do this for his own ego. This isn't even at the level of his own ego. This is just, he just wants to help. This is just at the level of a misconception of how to help. So he goes back to the desert and he prays. He wants to know, what I did, is that the right thing? Is what I did the right thing? And he prays to God and he says, did I do the right thing? And God says to him, no. Or actually what he says, the virtue in what you did is so much less than the virtue in your brother, in what he did. So this is an invitation for us to understand what it really means to do spiritual work. You don't need wealth to benefit the world. You need a powerful spiritual heart, a powerful aura, which is developed through virtue. You cannot develop a powerful aura other than through virtue. Of course, the virtue is the foundation. Without the virtue, anything else you do will be useless. Visualization, any of that'll all come to nothing unless you have virtue as the root. And through that powerful aura, you influence the world on the spiritual plane first. And you actually you harmonize the earth on the spiritual plane. This is how it works. This is not, you don't need money to do good on the earth, all right? To do good on the earth is to do spiritual work on yourself. Of course, you may be given money. Money may come to you. Positions of power may come to you. But you should not have a heart of seeking them. Your intention should not be to have power like that. It should be to do the good work. And maybe you will be given authority, maybe you'll be given wealth, maybe not. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. What matters, if you're really spiritual, what matters is that you do the good work. Stay away from the spiritual marketplace. These people, they don't understand anything. It's a powerful statement, but it's what I truly believe. The more riches, authority, and power a spiritual person is given, the more they should be tested. The more hardship and horror and terror they have to go, not just have gone through, but be going through now, and setting an example for us now to prove that they are the real deal. If they're not, they're a liar, they're a fake. And of course, I'm not even thinking of anybody specific. This is just a general rule. Even for me, as I think I've said it before, I've seen it in my chart. I will have success. It's in my destiny. It's just part of my karma. It's not because of anything that I've done. It is only a karmic effect. And if I get to that point, and I have not been tested, and I have not gone through things, and I have not shown my virtue in my character, by facing hardship and not, not faltering, because heaven will test those who are ready, then I am fake as well, and you shouldn't listen to me. So I think we can end that there. It's very important to have, especially in this time that's coming up for this eclipse, it's very important to have the correct spiritual view of things. I cannot recommend more Master Peter Dirnov. I think I can put some. I'll put the title of some of his books. They're like a few dollars on Amazon Kindle. And his disciple Ivanov, Omram Ivanov, or Mikhail Ivanov. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good one. Peace.